Kia ora, welcome back everybody. Here with another reaction to Mr. Kyle Morgan. But before we jump into that, just a very quick happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, or the single parents. Thank you very much for what you do. The time, effort, energy that you put in, I know is greatly appreciated. So that being said, hope you have a fantastic day and that you're spoilt today, all the mothers out there. And let's jump into this reaction.
All right, Kyle, we're back from the break. You're joining the Army. You get to boot camp.
Basic training,
whatever they call it over there. But what was that like?
What a shock. It was like you show up, they shave your head, you get, and there's a line for everything. Get in line. You just get indoctrinated. And that's the point, I think, to following orders, and and building to see if you can cut it. And I really thrived in that space, because as much as I wanted or was acting out as an adolescent and as a teenager, I got arrested twice before I was 18.
What?
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. But yeah, like
you
I
forgot
had to
that
do a
you
waiver. Yeah.
What'd you get arrested for?
One was like shoplifting.
What'd you steal?
Like a tie.
Nice.
From like a department store, and like one of the like testing bottles of cologne.
Oh yeah.
On a dare.
On a dare?
Yeah. It was like, oh, I bet you can't walk out with that. And I was like, shit. I walked out with it. And then this guy was like, hey man, I'm gonna need my stuff back. I was like, what stuff? And I was just like, oh. So he took me in, and I was like 16, 17. I was like acting out, man. And the other time it was we got pulled over, and we skipped school, and we're partying and stuff and drinking, and underage drinking. And I had like a fake ID that I made.
This is quite a few things running through my head as I listen to him when he's talking about basic training and getting the head shaved and lined up for everything. Brings back memories of corridor being called out in Waiuru on basic training. Those that have been through that will be familiar with that. Corridor and everybody running out there, lining up and going through, and then getting just what did we have? I think we were pretty lucky. I think it was like a 2 or maybe a 3. Might have been, I think it was a number 3 all over. So it wasn't down to the skin. And I don't recall it being a number 1 or a 0. It was I still had some fluff on the top. All of us did. But that initial shock, and like he spoke about, getting used to taking orders, following orders, and just hearing how he mentioned that he thrived in that environment. Yes, you see a lot of people that either thrive in it, that embrace it and take it on, or that just realize and figure out, hey, this isn't for me. This isn't what I want to do. I don't recall having lots of people who withdrew on basic training, but we had a handful from memory that I guess just decided, no, this isn't what I want to do for whatever reason. And then just hearing the fact that he got arrested a couple of times as a youth, I'm guessing, so at the age of 16, stealing a tie and a bottle of cologne, or testing bottle of cologne, whatever it was that he mentioned, and then being busted for it. So interesting, because obviously I know that here in NZ and in Australia, unless things have changed, if you have a criminal record, it's, you sort of, depending on what it is, I would think, it's probably almost impossible to get into the Defence Force. I don't know what it's like these days, and or if those things that you commit as a youth plays a part for if you do decide that you want to try to join the Army as an adult, if they pop back up or whatever, and if that prevents anybody. But yeah, I just think listening to this, actually, there was a question that was asked on my thoughts from somebody in Singapore, my thoughts on males and females having sort of a compulsory 12 to 24-month service in the Defence Force in New Zealand. Man, my personal take, I think that would be great for a number of reasons with regards to helping young men and young women, with regards to learning discipline, respect, humility, just building relationships and having an understanding of service in general, not taking anything away from the families or the homes that, that are strong and wanting and strive to do their best to instill those things. But I just think it would be awesome, like that, the development of the individual. So the young person going through that as well, being exposed to that and getting a taste of and an understanding of it and seeing what they're capable of. And then the recognition from their part, like the growth that they will receive will stay with them for the rest of their lives, no matter what they do. And then hopefully it's, that positiveness from that time, whatever that time is, 12 months, 24 months in the Defence Force. I think personally, again, the world according to Joe, right? I think personally that could only be a positive thing flowing out into their families and then into the community and wider. So yeah, that's my 2 cents in and around that question that has come up. I did respond to that pretty much sort of in the same way, I think. I can't remember all the words that I wrote. But listening to this guy reliving some of the memories of his basic training, yeah, brings back a fair few memories just as I listen to him as well. So anyway, let's jump back in.
Because in Florida, I'm not going to get into that, but
no, let's get into it.
So we can't do them anymore.
So you're a graphic artist at 16 years old. 16,
just resourceful.
Nice.
And I would like sell them. Like, hey,
you're
only
you made a business.
Yeah, a little business. I forgot about that.
Entrepreneur.
Looking for ways to make money to party, and be cool.
Because where does a fake ID go for in Florida back in what, the 2000s?
This was in late 90s, 2000s. Yeah.
I like the comment when he was creating, and it mentioned he's making fake IDs, and Sean described it as a digital artist. Not that we're encouraging anybody that may be a bit younger or even a bit older to start becoming a digital artist in that sense of forging IDs.
So it only worked if it was a kind of a limited model, but if you were born in 84, I could turn the 4 into a 1, and it's in 2 places on the ID. And then I would basically photocopy. So I erased the 4 to where, like with an eraser, and then cut out a photocopy of a 1, like someone's ID that was born in 81, and then like use packaging tape or whatever and put that over it, and place it correctly. And then you could, with warm water, you could rub the white or the white off the paper off, and then let it dry, and then it'll have the adhesive again, and then place it over. So it wouldn't pass it would get you into clubs. Like,
this crack up just listening to this, like that's a lot higher tech. The reason I'm smiling so much and laughing is because I'm just thinking of school days, those that, like, from my generation, you got a concession like pass that had like 10 rides that you could have on your little bus tag. I forget what it's called, whether it was a concession or something like that. But you get like 10 rides. You go to the bus driver. This is for school, and they punch the ticket, and then that puts a hole in that number. So you've got 9 left, then 8, and so on and so on. But sometimes when they'd punch it, like they just like clip it, because there's so many students coming on, they just clip, go through, and the piece wouldn't fall out fully, so it would still just be dangling. And then those of us, or like me, I learned from my friends, would just sort of push that back in, and it would just sit there, and then you could go back in and oftentimes get that same number punched maybe 3 or 4 times if you were lucky. And then some of the students went one further, which I learned, and I thought, oh, that's a good idea. They started using clear sellotape to cover the ticket, the concession, and be saying, oh, it's like, because in case it gets wet or it's in my pocket and sweating or whatever, or goes in the wash. And the bus drivers brought it, and they would punch it, and it was a lot harder for the the little piece to fall out through the number. So you could start getting quite a few rides, and your bus concession could last quite a long time. So just listening to nothing like this, like I never, actually, I don't even know if any of my friends did, but I know I never had any fake IDs to try to get into clubs or anything like that. They would have spotted me a mile away going, yeah, just get home, mate. So, yeah, hard case just listening.
That will get you
18-year-old and like dancing
Nice.
and like underage, or yeah, but you still couldn't like drink, but it would allow me to go and fit in and stuff with older. I had like older crowd friends and stuff, and I wanted to be able to hang out. So, yeah, and that led to I had to like I didn't even know what a colonel was. Like in 06, like they had to do a waiver to get me in, and I had to like tell them, like talk to him, you know, and explain to him why he should let me join the Army. You know,
No
one person,
shit.
yeah, and I totally forgot about that. But yeah, like I was like, who's this, and why do I have what? And I was like, okay, and I talked to him, and well, I convinced him, and you know, give me 1 second on that.
I'd heard of Google Ads, but I thought this will be too techie for me. I was wronger than a wrong'un. It's actually...
Where was I going with that? There was another element of...
You wouldn't have gotten in the Army had it not been for that colonel that gave you basically a second chance.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I was supposed to be joining with my cousin. Like we both signed up together, but he couldn't score high enough on the ASVAB to get a bonus. Right. And this is what good recruiters do. They had me take his ASVAB for him.
Are you shitting
Like
me?
I fill out his name and like, and then I scored high enough again to where so he could get a bonus. So he did the whole like raise your right hand thing and the delayed entry, and then never left.
Far out. It's yeah. I got nothing to say about the recruiting in terms of what happened there, but what did stand out to me even more so as well is just the things that happen in our lives, that enable us or allow us to be able to do certain things. Imagine if that recruiting colonel or whoever he wasn't convinced, or if Kyle wasn't able to convince him to allow him to go into the military. If those recruiters didn't see something in him, clearly they must have saw something in him, and this colonel, whoever the colonel was that spoke with him. And just imagine like if that stuff didn't happen, the series of events that happen, or the chain reaction after, is where I'm going, is what I'm trying to get at. You know, may never have happened. The Radisson Blu Hotel could have been a completely different outcome. You know, just it's incredible. I think it's Steve Jobs that's done a video. He's speaking and talking about how you can connect the dots looking back, and that's been a real powerful thing for me personally. And also recently, shout out to one of the bros that was on my selection in 1998. He's put a few messages on comments, but he sent one recently, and just really warmed the heart to read and hear what he's doing. He saw himself on that 1998 selection. He mentioned that he stood up, dropped the bag of potato chips that he was eating, and started doing some training. He's now training twice a day. He's training with his I think they're teenage boys, or training with his sons twice a day, 5 a.m. in the morning, some strength work and conditioning, and then some cardio stuff in the evening. He's preparing for other stuff. And then he said, but what's even more awesome is that he's looking after the home, doing the dishes, helping out, laundry, all that sort of stuff with his family. And man, that was really, really heartwarming, really lifted me up to read the bro's message. And just grateful that he would take the time to write that down and put that in a comment and share that. One of the many beautiful things that I've had the privilege to read. But coming back to Kyle and what he's been talking about, that's what stands out to me. Being able to connect the dots, looking back and going, man, I remember that person. I remember who I used to be. I remember the drive that I used to have. I remember the goals and the way that I used to approach things and the way that I used to not give a damn about what anybody else thought. And sometimes we can lose that. I know I've lost that over time. I've definitely had the ups and downs and forgotten what I was capable of, forgotten at times the drive that I had and the unrelenting just pursuit when I get fixated on something and decide that I want to do it. I had forgotten that at times about what I was capable of. And I think, you know, a lot of us, if not everybody, forgets that from time to time. And I hope that anybody that might come across this, and if this little piece lands, man, I hope you can remember, and I hope you know what you're capable of doing in terms of getting out and chasing after the things that you want to do. So, yeah. And then as for the recruiting and getting him to take a test for somebody else so that they get, I think he said, use the word bonus so that they can then get in, I suppose. That's, yeah, that's pretty crazy. I never saw any of that. I think those that might know, sorry, this last part that I'll mention, what's our time? Yeah, this last part that I'll mention, I think I've mentioned on other videos, you know, my mum wanted me to join the army and get a trade. She wanted me to be like a carpenter or join as engineers to get a trade. I only ever wanted to join infantry with one pathway, infantry, then SAS. But to appease and please mum, I put that in, you know, I said, oh, got there, recruit sergeant. What do you want to do? I said, oh, well, I want to go infantry, but my mum wants me, you know, again, little 17-year-old kiddo, but my mum wants me to join and get a trade and wants me to go engineers. So it's like, okay, gave me the engineer test, failed that miserably. I tried really hard. There were other people there in that test, other engineers and other people that they passed, got mine. Yeah, unfortunately you haven't passed, but you could still join infantry. So I was happy either way. Mum wasn't happy, so just fast forwarding that. She thought I failed the test on purpose. No, I was just not smart enough to pass that test. So, but everything worked out well. So, yeah, I'm glad. I wouldn't have wanted anybody to pass a test for me so that I could be an engineer because that's not what I wanted to do. And everything worked out the way it was meant to. But anyway, it's back in the here.
Like he didn't graduate high school and just like went on whatever path he went on. So then it was just me. But yeah, there was a lot of things like, yeah, there's a lot of pivotal points that just
Worked out in your favor.
Yeah, worked out. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's been a lot of that going on, just riding a wave of all of those. But now I'm taking ownership and taking control of my own life and my own actions.
Yeah.
And that's really it. And the rest is for God. Yeah. Which is a really comforting feeling. Yeah.
You got in. You're at the 82nd Airborne. What's that like checking in? Where is that?
Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Bragg? Yeah. Is your whole career at Bragg?
Basically, yeah. There wasn't much time spent. I mean, it was there and not there. I mean, I got there and like it was awful. For one, the barracks were like, they weren't the World War II barracks, but they were like the old barracks, man. You could still smoke in them and shit. And like everyone smoked cigarettes for some reason. I was like, was this like a thing? It's like Marlboro cowboy killers. And, you know, I was just like, well, I just want to fit in. So I was so stressed out. I remember how I thought about going AWOL, like, because like it was, for one, there was a lot of systemic, like just cultural, like racism and things that I just wasn't used to. Like, I was just like, what is this? And, you know, if I had something to say against it, man, I paid for it. And, because they would use the rank and this and that, and everyone outranked me. So it was just like, go smoke him, scuff, auto scuff, you know? And I was like physically strong, so they couldn't necessarily break me. And so there was pissed them off. And
there was a lot of racism when you went there, and you stood up to it.
Yeah.
And they
like when I first,
they crushed you for it.
Yeah. Like
That's mad. Like to know I suppose not surprising, eh? There's still, there's still racism today, to be fair. But far out. Like at that time, like I think he's maybe, yeah, he's a few years. I think he's 5 or 6 years younger than me, so he'll be early 40s right now. This guy. But so to hear that, and that there's a level, by the sounds of things, of racism when he was going through, pretty crazy. For, I suppose, you would have thought there's been massive advancements by that stage to get to where he is. Fort Bragg is where he's based, 82nd Airborne, obviously highly regarded and reputable part of the Defence Force. The Defence Force in general is a great place to be, but there's clearly elements or units within the Defence Force, America's no different, that have their standouts. So the fact that he's gone there and that's where he is, and he's amongst some, I guess, seasoned, hardened individuals in that there, and sounds like he's standing up or trying to stand up to what he's seen. Smoking. It made me smile when he spoke about old barracks. So, bro, come to the Waiuru barracks. Mind you, I think from some of the photos I've seen anyway, it looks like they've had a bit of a facelift in some of those. The bedrooms, the 10-man section rooms, 10 or 12-man section rooms that we were in, man, those definitely look a lot better than what they were. The tall boys, the low boys, the beds and all that sort of stuff, they definitely look a lot better than what they were when I went through in Bassick 295. So yeah, there's clearly been some investment into those places, but there's still, they're still pretty old barracks. There was no smoking in the barracks when we went through, or I don't recall seeing any NCOs or anybody smoking. But yeah, different world, over there where they are in America, or where he was at that time.
There was, it really was off-putting to me, and it should be, but it was like, I was like hit by it where it caught me off guard. I was like, what is this? Like, and that wasn't all of them, but like the squad I went to specifically in the platoon, it was kind of like, there was elements of it, and it was, I was like, ugh. And, but I was also like trying to figure out who I am as an adult, young adult. I was 18, and, I physically, like, they would, I'd have my back to the door, like holding it closed every day, like in a squad meeting. They'd be fucking chain smoking cigarettes and just laughing and, doing whatever. And I'd be in the iron chair holding a Kevlar in each hand, upside down. And they would just be putting shit in it and taking it out, asking me trivia. Like, and if I got it wrong, they would put more shit in it. But I would be there waiting on the word for hours at a time.
Damn.
That's crazy. Oh, I don't know if that's just part of the hazing or part of the initiation process, for want of a better term. Sounds like, not that I know, I've never been a part of a fraternity or anything, but sounds like some of the, like a frat boy bloody thing or tasks or initiation type things, which, as I'm listening to that, no disrespect intended to if that's part of their process, but it sounds pretty rubbish to me. But hey, if that's the process and if that's what they've done, and I guess at the end of the day, maybe it's contributed to molding Kyle to who he is now, but also to who he was in that moment at the Radisson Blu Hotel and what he was able to do. Then, cool that he was there, but it doesn't sound great as I'm listening to that. Probably wouldn't want that on a recruitment drive with regards to come join the 82nd Airborne or whatever. But yeah, again, I don't know. I know that 82nd has got a very, very good reputation. So, and this is, taken in the context of Mr. Kyle Morgan and his experience that he's sharing here on the Sean Ryan Show. So anyway, I'm going to pause this here. We'll come back to this later. It's almost 25 minutes. I'm wanting to try to shorten these down a little bit as I go, just for the uploading and exporting and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, and so that will hopefully, we'll see how that goes, and hopefully that can make things a little bit quicker for me, especially with regards to members only content and things coming up in the very near future, and that stuff is already starting to happen behind the scenes now. So that being said, yeah, lots that I've taken away and gone down memory lane and spoken about here on the camera. Hopefully in some small way it adds something to the context of the interview that Sean Ryan already does a phenomenal job of, and also in terms of what his guest, Mr. Kyle Morgan, has been kind enough to share. So appreciate you and your time. Thank you very much for sticking around. Just again, the reminder, so the memberships, the main channel is still going to have 2 uploads to it at least every week. There'll probably still be at least 1 or 2 Q&A videos that will go up during the week as well. And then depending on which membership, there's 4 membership tiers for this channel. Depending on which one you choose, the first level, there'll be at least 3. So you'll have access to at least 3 reaction videos, and then some of the other content, and then it goes up from there. So the next step 2, you get at least 5 plus reaction videos. So you'll get pretty much access to most of the stuff that gets dropped on there. And then level 3 and then level 4, and there's other it's called perks, but yeah, there's other incentives or whatever, rewards, prizes, perks that are associated with each level as you go up. So something for you to have a look at. Again, completely respect your decision, whatever that is, whether you choose to sign up as a member or not. Just grateful to have you here, eh? So thank you for your time. There will always be content put on the public channel. All of the stuff that's currently on the channel is not going to be put into members only. It's just going to stay where it is. So you don't need to worry about any of that going anywhere. It'll just be the newer content. So trying to get that in play before the end of this month, because I was not expecting the number of people that have signed up already. So I was expecting to potentially have this going by next month in June. So that is the deadline. But if I could get it done beforehand, then I would be trying. And then people have just been phenomenal, man. Thank you so much for signing up and joining now. So that's just sort of caused me to, okay, I need to move. And so I'll be trying to get that done potentially before the end of this month. So if I get to that stage, then at some point before the end of this month, you'll notice on the public channel, there'll only be a couple of uploads, and the rest of the stuff will be going into the members only channel. So again, hopefully that makes sense. Feel free to whack any questions, comments in, but just know I'm not going to forget about the public channel that has created all of this and kicked it all off. So those that are unable to be a member, or those that just don't want to be a member, they're just happy with staying where they are, 100%, that's awesome, that's all good. There will still and there will always be content put on the public channel. So anyway, whatever challenges, obstacles you may be going through, again, I appreciate your time, I appreciate your support, I appreciate the encouragement and the shares that you feel comfortable to drop into the comments from time to time. I'm definitely still, always going to be trying to reply to those that take the time to put comments in there. So I thank you for your patience and thank you for bearing with me. Just with those challenges and trials that you may be going through, just keep turning up, eh? Just stay in the fight. The sun will shine again. It's shining again today, which is lovely here in Porirua, Te Whanganui Tara, Pōneke, Wellington, Aotearoa, New Zealand. So that's great to see. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. So just keep putting one foot in front of the other. You will get to that light at the end of that dark and dreary tunnel, I promise you. So just keep at it, keep turning up, stay consistent, stay disciplined. And remember, go always a little further. Who dares wins. And until the next video, a big mana way from me to you with my aroha, respect, appreciation, and gratitude as always. And happy Mother's Day once again to all the mothers. And yeah, my wife's mana way wasn't too bad, eh? I just didn't want her to one-up me on the video, but in saying that, if I didn't want her to one-up me, I should have just not had her on the video in the first place. But yeah, appreciate you all.